A title: Elder Abuse. Risa Breckman, Director, New York City Elder Abuse Center, New York, New York.
There are really 5 components to the definition of elder abuse, and one is who's being abused. And we think about elder often that we think about someone who's 60 or 65 years of age or older, because typically the definition of elder is often designed around service delivery. So eligibility criteria for people seeking services in the Aging Services Network, often it's, you need to be 60 or 65. And it could be a man or a woman who's being abused. The second component is what's happening to that person. So elder abuse is, the physical, psychological, sexual abuse of an older adult. It could include neglect and financial exploitation. And then the third part of the definition of elder abuse is who's perpetrating this, who's doing this. And with elder abuse, it's often a family member, maybe an adult son or daughter, grandchild. It could be an intimate partner. It could be a paid or unpaid caregiver. It could be someone with fiduciary responsibility. And it could also be a scam artist, somebody who the older person has never met. And then the next part of the definition is where is this occurring? And it can occur in really any setting. It can occur in someone's home or apartment in the community. It can occur in an assisted living or a nursing facility, a nursing home facility. So it could really happen in any setting. And then the next part of the definition is really context. And we think about elder abuse as happening within the context of a relationship where there's an expectation of trust, or there's some sort of legal responsibility that somebody has and they're not fulfilling that properly. And also it could happen to somebody because they're targeted because of their age or a disability.
There are different kinds of elder abuse that may be happening at the same time.
Sometimes the abuse might be just financial exploitation. I mean, that's very possible. There could be somebody who, maybe there's an older adult with, diminished capacity, and somebody has access to their bank account electronically, and the older person has no idea that money is being siphoned out. And they're not necessarily, their care needs haven't changed necessarily because not all the money's been siphoned out, just some of it, and so they may not really even realize because their life hasn't changed really at all. So there's cases like that, but usually, oftentimes, abuse is co-occurring. So where there's financial exploitation, there might also be psychological abuse, there might also be neglect, and that's more typical of what we see.
Evelyn Laureano, Executive Director, Neighborhood Self-Help by Older Persons Project, New York, New York.
We know that cultural values may determine how a person perceives elder abuse, and some people may not perceive a particular behavior or action as abusive. And so that's another thing that has to be taken into account. Financial exploitation in some families may not be considered as abusive behavior because, of course, in our culture, my son is the one that always handles the finances, so I'm not concerned that he's taking all my money. So that's another issue that we see differences in how elder abuse and mistreatment is defined by different cultures, and so it might be a challenge to help someone make a charge that I'm being abused if I don't consider that as abusive behavior.
What is elder abuse like? What does it look like? How is it occurring in tribal communities?
Vicki Ybanez, Executive Director, Red Wind Consulting, Incorporated.
Well, actually, right now we're learning quite a bit because there is very minimal response in Indian country. There hasn't been many tribes really taking on this issue. And when we think about what it looks like, there's a lot of similarities to mainstream communities in terms of the different types of violence that's occurring, but there's also some that are very specific to tribes. When we think about how culture gets used and spiritual abuse gets used. And when we think about how people use an elder's access to ceremonies and cultural events as a form of controlling them or denying them an ability to participate. There might also be instances where someone might threaten to put bad medicine on somebody as a form of controlling them, or even put bad medicine on them, or deny them their ability to participate in cultural and spiritual roles that they have in the community.
Logos appear. NCALL, www.ncall.us. Terra Nova Films, terranova.org. Funded by the U.S. Department of Justice, Office on Violence Against Women and Elder Justice Initiative. www.justice.gov/elderjustice. A disclaimer. This project was supported by grant number 2014 AXTA K050, awarded by the Office on Violence Against Women and by the Elder Justice Initiative, U.S. Department of Justice. The opinions, findings, conclusions, and recommendations expressed in this program are those of the authors and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Department of Justice, Office on Violence Against Women, or the Elder Justice Initiative.